By now, you've probably heard that Team Corrali has released a Radix 4. It's much like the recently released Radix 6 1/8 scale off-road brushless buggy, but with a few changes. And I have it over there on the workbench. We're going to go over those changes in just a minute. But I wanted to tell you, I'm pretty excited about this buggy without even driving yet. And here's the reason why. When I drove the Radix 6, it was a wild off-road beast on 6S, but I really had a great time driving it on 4S. I think that is the sweet spot for this buggy, and I think it's just going to be a great buggy overall to have fun with. I think we're all just concerned about going fast and going wild, and we want big 6S power, 8S power, and stuff like that. We kind of forget about just drivability, and I think this is going to be a great driving buggy on 4S, so I'm excited to check it out. Alright, here's the quick facts you need to know about the Radix 4. It's a 1/8 scale, 4-wheel drive, electric, off-road, brushless buggy, and it's going to be great for bashing, whether it's in your backyard, a big dirt lot, or even a BMX track, as long as no riders are around. Or you could take it to the local RC track and just have some fun doing some laps, or maybe even enter it in club racing. As you can see, the body is different from the Radix 6, which is in the background there, just the color is different. It's got the same cool graphics on there, new Radix 4 logo. Definitely like the styling of the buggy. And here's what it comes with. Since it's ready to run, it comes with an S2R radio. It's your basic ready to run radio system, has your basic trims, but it's got a good feel to it. And also in the box is your instruction manual and an antenna tube. And of course, read that instruction manual before you run it, but this buggy is loaded with some really good features. So why don't I pull the body off, grab the Radix 6 to talk about the differences and details of why this might be a great buggy for you. All right, let's dive into it. So here's a close-up look at the new Radix 4, and as you can see, it is much like the Radix 6. There are very few changes between these two buggies, and as I mentioned before, I really enjoy driving that, so I think I'm going to have a great time wheeling this machine right here. But let me just go over some of the fine features really quick, and those start off with the suspension. So we have the new high nylon composite suspension arms on here. It's a pivot ball style suspension in the front. Nice firm arms, so they're going to be really durable when you're out there driving this thing. Up top, we do have fixed links in the rear. We've got fixed steering links up front. There's a 4mm shock tower in the front and a 5mm shock tower in the rear. So this is really good stuff. And then these big bore shocks, I really like the look of these shocks, number one. And number two, they feel really good on this buggy. So the suspension system on this works really well. Again, we've driven the Radix 6 before. That thing handles well. I'm sure this one is going to. Now the chassis layout on here, it's got your A-scale racer style of layout, where we've got the motor on this side, the battery on this side. Really well-balanced chassis overall. And it's really easy to work on as well. The driveline on here is pretty much the same between the two. There is a change that I'm going to talk about, but first I want to talk about the drive shafts on here. We've got CVs in the front, we've got dog bones in the center, dog bones in the rear. It's a high-grade steel, so hopefully none of that will bend while we're driving it. And the big difference is between the Radix 4 and the Radix 6 is the center differential. We're back to the composite center diff cup for this differential, where on the Radix 6 they switched over to an aluminum cup. And the reason why they did that is because of the power system in there. And since we have a new power system in here for 3 to 4S power, it's not necessary to go aluminum. They do have the larger case on here, which I really do like. There are smaller cases on the front diff and the rear diff, but they can be tuned with oil, which is great. And I think that center diff cup is going to work just fine for the new 4S power system that's in here. All right, now the other changes is pretty much just the electronics. Besides that diff cup in the color of the vehicle, we have a new servo in here. So it's the CR7220, where on the Radix 6, it was the CRHV7225 servo. So that's a high voltage 25 kg servo. This seems to be a standard voltage 20 kg servo. So there's a little change there. They still have the aluminum arm on the servo, so I really do like that. And of course, it's metal geared. It just doesn't have as much torque as the 6S powered version. I kind of wish they kept with that, but we'll see how this one steers. Now the other major change is in the speed controller. So this is the Torox 135. It's a 120 amp continuous speed controller. It is programmable. We do now have just a single plug on it, XT90 plug, where the Radix 6 had two plugs on there, so you could run two 3S packs. You could just run your 4 or 3S pack, single pack in this setup. And it's really easy to put your batteries in here. The tray is adjustable, so it will accept a number of different style of 2 or 3 to 4S packs. So the speed controller looks pretty good. It looks like they used some extra super glue on this switch over here. That's the only thing I noticed that, yeah, I wish they just left two-side tape on here and didn't use any super glue, but maybe they don't want the switch to fall out. But that looks like it's going to be a good speed controller. I like that you can program it. Definitely check out the manual so you can see all the different things you can program. And then over here, we've got the Curon 725 motor, and this is a 4-pole motor. It's a 2150 kV, and it's a little bit smaller of a can than the 6S powered buggy over here. So this power system, I think, is going to be perfectly paired with this buggy, especially if you do go hit the track with it for some laps. I think the system is going to work well for a sensorless system. And that is really about it. I mean, we've got some good tires on here, a nice aluminum chassis. Again, the plastics on here are much more durable than the first-gen Corrali cars, and has really done a great job in their release of their V2 versions of a lot of their vehicles. So again, I'm really excited to drive this. Let's head outside and see what type of driving I could do. I will try to give you at least a first run on this, and we'll probably revisit it for some more action later on down the road. But I gotta squeeze the throttle on this. Let's head outside. Alright guys, I made a quick run to the BMX track, and this place is really muddy. This spot right here though, kind of dry, so I can at least show you guys how this thing jumps. It's been a lot of fun. The wheels are actually caked up with mud right now, so you're gonna see those wobbling, but I have to show you this thing jump. It jumps so good. Nice. That was just a short run up. Let me go around this berm here, get a little speed off of this thing. Watch this. Yeah, nice and smooth. I gotta fill that divot in. This place is pretty beat up. You can see those wheels wobbling, they're just full of mud. I had to show you how well it jumps. So smooth in the air, lands really well. Could use a little bit more preload in the shocks. I'll talk to you guys more about that back at the workshop. But this is a really good handling buggy. A lot of steering in it. I can't wait to try this thing on a track, actually. I think it's gonna be a lot of fun on a RC track, big A scale track. But definitely as a basher, a 3S, 4S buggy basher, this thing is killer. Woo! Haha, save that, awesome. Corrali's got something here with this Radix4. All right guys, now we can head back to the workshop and I'll give you my final performance thoughts. All right, I've got a bunch of runs put in on the Radix4. I actually started driving it when I drove the Punisher at the beach. I took this along with me, ripped it around in the sand for a little bit, got a little bit of action footage, but there wasn't a lot to really drive this thing on there. Lots of wheel spin in the sand, obviously, so I couldn't get a feel for the power, but I had fun with it there nonetheless. Also ripped it around in my driveway, in my backyard, and then recently I took this to the BMX track. It was really muddy there still from the winter time, but I was able to get a really good feel for it there. And this thing, like I thought, is a blast. It really has usable power. This buggy as the Radix6, I love driving it on 4S, and now running this Radix4 on 4S was just awesome. I mean, over the jumps, it was super controllable, super smooth, just lots of rip that you could use. Not a ton of wheel spin where the buggy was getting out of shape. Just really just laid down the traction and took off. And again, it was a really predictable driving experience. Plenty of steering on tap. I can really see this being a fun buggy to rip around in your backyard, you know, like it's supposed to. It's a basher buggy, but at a track as well. If you want to go over to the track, lay down some laps and have fun, maybe just swap out the tires, and I think you're good to go. I think it's going to be a lot of fun just in that track type environment. It's a really cool buggy. One thing I do have to mention before I forget is the ride height on this. So when I took this out of the box, put it on this table, threw the battery in, the buggy basically sat right on the table. You really need to take a look at your ride height before you go run this thing. If you put a larger pack in there, there's going to be more weight, so it's going to drop the buggy down. So you're going to want to adjust your preload collars. I have the rear bones set at level, the front just a tad lower, and it handled really, really well. It soaked up the bumps, landing off of jumps, really good. You know, it didn't need a lot of correction in the air, but was correctable. They did a great job on this buggy. I think it's really well powered, and for those of you that really want that great driving experience where you're in full control, this is a great buggy to check out. One issue I do have to share with you is I did blow out a lower shock cap. I actually think it unscrewed because it doesn't seem to be any damage to the threads in the cap. It is a plastic cap. I think it just unscrewed itself and finally blew out when I nosed this thing into a jump at the BMX track. But I'm just gonna clean everything up, screw that cap back on. Like I said, it doesn't even look cracked or anything. Obviously, I have to fill this back up with oil, so I'll redo both shocks, and that's the only thing I have to report. Everything else is fine. There is some tire wear from ripping around in the driveway. That's to be expected. But overall, really cool buggy. I think Corelli really nailed it offering this Radix platform with the 4S power system. All right, guys, let me know what you think about the Radix 4 in the comments section below. Don't go comparing it, saying it's copied to other buggies. If you look really closely, it's not. It's a buggy built for the 1/8 scale buggy class. It's that simple. There's a ton of buggies in that class. Nobody made it up. It's a classification that buggies go in. But let me know what you think about it. I'm interested to hear if you would take this to the track or just use it as a basher. And while you're down there, hit that subscribe button and the notifications bell. Throw the video a like. We'll see you back soon for some more RC driver videos.